So this is what we refer to as the Great Big Haul, and this was on April 15th when we had finished debarking the majority of the logs, and I rallied the most incredible group of people. I worked for Bureau of Land Management, working with Alaska Fire Service at the time, so this is all of your wildland firefighters, and they are incredible, they are strong, they are determined, and they offered to help shuttle about 70 logs that day all the way out to our cabin. So this is at the trailhead where everybody was loading up and taking off. The sleds that they are using are called Siglins. We refer to them as SIGs here in Alaska, and those proved to be the best resource. If you watched an earlier video of ours, you saw that we built a sledge, which was a big, long wooden sled. Turns out it was way too heavy, and when it didn't work out well for us, when we did our trial run, we tried again, and it didn't work out once again. So you can see here, way up, there is the trail that they have made, and they are making their way up the first mountain out of the valley. Where the tree line ends before it goes up the mountain is where everybody ended up getting stuck. So that dips down there, and it's a valley, and you have to come up out of it. It's only one way, so with the shuttle, you don't want to run into somebody coming down. If you're heading up, it's about a half mile through there. You can't see anything, so that did prove challenging as well, as people were making their laps back and forth, 6 miles out, 6 miles back. The wind was going roughly 15-20 miles per hour that day. It was already a temperature of, I think it was around 30 below before wind chill. When we first started, it did warm up, I believe around 20 below, but it was brutal. We had a ice fishing hut set up with propane tent for people to warm up in between their laps of getting the logs as close as possible to our trailhead. They could not make it down to our property because there was no trail, and although we tried to set it, it proved disastrous when I went out to put the trail in place with my husband. So we just dropped them on the main trail that we'd put in near the property line, and that is where they stayed from April through June before we were able to start hauling them down. But as you can see, everybody would load up with about 2 logs. Each of them are 150 pounds, so that's 300 pounds. They're 20 feet long. Like I said, you were going up a pretty steep valley, over the mountain, down the mountain, back up another steep one. Going down the steepest one, sometimes your SIG, and this is ours, would come beside you, and it would try to race you down the steep mountain. This is what it looks like when you are hauling it, and this was our last shuttle. We had about 12 more to get out there, so we were taking a group of 7 out to our cabin the following weekend. And this is walking down to our property area. So we started trying to set a trail. As you can see, I put on all those markers, and we snowshoed this entire thing. So it's about a quarter mile, maybe a little shy of that, off of the main trailhead, and we snowshoed that trail in to pack it down. We marked it so that you wouldn't get lost. If you stepped off of it without snowshoes, you would sink. And there they are, some beautiful snowshoes, finding another use for them. We were delimbing our trees that we were going to stack these first set of logs on down at the trailhead because we didn't have any other way with us to do so. So you gotta be innovative and creative, and that's exactly what we did here. And it worked. And so we were taking these logs that we had actually trimmed down in January, if you recall, and we were delimbing, and we were using those to create a elevated surface to place those logs on. So they're bringing them down.
Look, he's doing it the right way.
This is from that
He's
giant
learning.
stack, so this is when we first started. And it was not easy just to navigate that short distance, but we started making it happen. This is a little bit of our view in the winter. It's absolutely gorgeous out there. Like I said, it's 6 miles. Every time we go out in the winter, we have to put the trail in all over again because it gets windblown and you can't see where it is. There's a lot of the days when it's just too cloudy, but it's beautiful.